Hey everyone, thanks for stopping by and checking out the video. I'm Matt, or CMattDye as I go by on the YouTube channel, and I wanted to do a video on FTX. I know a lot of people were talking about FTX and can there be any extra collateral damage from FTX, and I want to give my thoughts and talk about a couple things. So if we look at different bear markets, they're all kind of similar. So if we look at the one we're in right now in crypto, and then we look at the financial crisis in 2008, 2009, what actually happened? You had a lot of big banks really get hurt. Insurance companies, a lot of them went out of business just because they were over leveraged. They just didn't have the proper funds that they were supposed to have. They were able to just get away with a lot. And that is exactly what has happened in the crypto market. You had Luna a little bit over 6 months ago. They were definitely over leveraged. They did not have the proper amount of funds that they should have had. And they went down. And FTX, the exact same way. They had a lot of funds in their FTT token, their own token, which is crazy. Why would they do that? And they didn't have as much money on hand as they said they did. SBF was, maybe a week prior to the findings said he had $1 billion. That was just simply not true unless they were counting their FTT token, which really you shouldn't be able to count that. It's just ridiculous. It's like if a bank had reward points and they had $1 billion in reward points because they make that value up. It just doesn't make any sense. So that was really the big reason why FTX went under. They were funneling money to Alameda Research, which was their research arm, to prop up their trading. And a lot of the money was fictitious anyway. They just didn't have it. So when people started to pull money out, that's when everyone realized they don't have any to give. And that's when they just went under. They did purchase BlockFi and Voyager. BlockFi has withdrawals paused. They'll either get bought out by somebody or probably go under as well. Crypto.com. I know a lot of people were selling the CRO token. I think they're okay, but I haven't done super massive research on that. So, take what I'm saying. This is the companies that are affected that I know of. But I don't think Crypto.com was affected. They had $10 million on the FTX exchange just locked up, or it was locked up a week ago. I'm not sure what happened to it. And they paused withdrawals on the Solana blockchain about a week ago. Genesis trading firm had $175 million locked on FTX account, even though they say that they didn't have any. So you kind of have to look at the wording of these people. And it's the same with traditional finance. So traditional finance, crypto, it's kind of the same. Some of it is more decentralized than others. Exchanges have to be a little bit centralized. And what we're probably going to end up doing in the next few years is you'll have exchanges that are predominantly decentralized with a centralized arm. That's probably what you're going to end up seeing. But, it is what it is. You have to be a little bit centralized anyway. So, the whole centralized, decentralized argument for an exchange, I don't think makes sense. Now, for like a project, like a DEX or even a blockchain, yeah, decentralized matters. But for an actual exchange, I've seen people argue that, and it's just ludicrous. So far, BlockFi, Crypto.com, Genesis Trading have all been affected. Multi-Coin Capital, which is a crypto venture capitalist firm, had 10% of its capital in FTX. That's a big number. 10% is actually a big number. A company called Wintermute, which was a market maker, they had exposure that I don't know how much they had. So they were definitely affected. Amber Group, also a market maker, had less than 10% locked up on FTX. And I don't think it's going to be an issue for their business operations. I don't think that's a lot of risk. But, Amber Group was one. Liquid Meta, which is a DeFi infrastructure and tech company, has 4.3 million locked up in FTX. A company called Coinshares, which is a trading firm, has 26.6 million exposure in FTX. And I think they had more, and now this is what they have as of a few days ago. Galaxy Digital, which is a VC and a trading firm, has 76.8 million locked up. Kraken, which a lot of people are saying they're fine. Kraken holds 9,000 FTT tokens, but they say they don't have any exposure outside of that. So we've already seen one company lie, Genesis Trading Firm, with 175 million locked in FTX account. They said they didn't have any. So, you have to trust these companies if you feel that they care. Selene Capital has 3% of its assets locked on FTX. 3% is not really that bad. Sequoia Capital has 213.5 million in assets on FTX. That's a lot of money. Sequoia Capital is really big, so not in comparison to their total amount, but that's what they have. The companies that said they had no exposure were Anchorage Digital, which is an institutional crypto platform, Alpha Labs, which is a trading firm, the BitMix Exchange, Coinbase Exchange, Cumberland, which is a trading firm, Durbit Exchange. Of course, Genesis Trading said they had none. They have 175 million. It is what it is. I'm going to link all this stuff down below. Public company stocks that were impacted by the FTX collapse. Coinbase was affected, but indirectly because they didn't have any exposure. MicroStrategy, obviously. Silvergate Bank, the Riot blockchain, which is a mining company. Marathon Digital, which was also a mining company. Obviously, Crypto.com CRO token was affected as well, but they actually have some exposure, and I don't think it's like a ton, but it is some exposure. So take that for what it is. The 5 companies I listed: Coinbase, MicroStrategy, Silvergate, Riot, and Marathon. I don't believe they had any exposure. We'll have to wait and see, but Coinbase is a U.S. company, and they're on the stock exchange, so they're pretty much the heaviestly monitored exchange, I would think. So I don't think they have anything to do with anything else. It is pretty terrible that they were able to build themselves up so much. After Luna came crashing down, FTX was just doing well, and SBF was going out telling everybody that it's fine, that he understands risk, he's good at math, and obviously he's not good at risk. So you have like 2 different people, right? So one person goes out into the world, and if they do something good and become popular, then people will say good things about them. But the second person comes when that person starts believing all those good things people are saying about them, and let that really build their ego, and then they build an ego off of that, which is what other people were saying. They build an ego off of that rather than building an ego off of yourself. Rather than believing in yourself, and that's how you develop your sense of self, you're allowing your sense of self to be built up by these other people that you don't even know. And I think that's what happened is, they start believing their own hype. And that's when you might as well just let someone else be in charge. Because someone else, you're believing your own hype. You're living off things that aren't even true that people were saying. And that means you're lying to yourself. If you lie to yourself, it's very easy to lie to others. That's just psychology. It's just something that happens. And also, I don't believe that he was that adept at running a company anyway. You learned in the 2009 financial crisis, why was, Lehman Brothers was over a $200 price tag at one point. I think it was higher than that. Well, JP Morgan bought them at $2 per share. Why? Well, the financial crisis happened, and they started doing their due diligence, started looking at them, and they decided, well, at $2, they have enough assets to where if they have more issues, if we had to, we could sell that. So that's what they did. Other companies didn't get bought up. They just went under. That's the way the world works, and that is basically my thoughts in a nutshell. It's terrible that it happened. I had been saying prior to FTX going under that I do think regulation is going to come either the first year of the next bull market or sometime in the middle of the next bull market. I think with FTX going under, a lot of people are starting to open their eyes and see that no regulation is not that good, because it's just the wild, wild west. And basically, it's like what the stock market was 150 years ago, where now the U.S. stock market has regulation. You can't come in and be a fake company and do these crazy things. The most recent example was China. They came last year before, a few years ago, something like that. They came with an electric car company. It was fake company. But in China, you can do that, and a lot of people do that over there. But over here in America, you can't. And I've heard a lot of people talk about FTX and FTX went under. It's you don't never see exchanges go under. Well, were you here in 2009? Because a lot of futures exchanges went under. I had a friend of mine who lives in a different country, couldn't access his money, and he lost $30,000. It's a thing. And futures are a regulated market. But because he was in another country and they went under, it is what it is. I don't want to get into the details of that, but it is what it is. Bad things happen to good people sometimes. And it's terrible that FTX has done this, but it happens. You have to be able to do your own due diligence and be able to stay away from certain things. And I looked at FTX exchange a couple of months ago, and I didn't put any money on the exchange because I didn't really like their trading software. I didn't like their setup. I wasn't really a fan, and I didn't go with them. But I know a lot of people did. A lot of people were hurt by it. So it's terrible that happened. Hopefully this is some good information for some people out there. I'm going to link all the stuff that I talked about down below. And hopefully, if you enjoy the video, throw a like. I'd appreciate that. I know it's a terrible video had to make, but I felt it was kind of necessary. So thanks for listening to the video. Not a lot of graphics here. This is the FTX US exchange. The global one is down. This is site can't be reached, but the US is here for some reason. Though, whatever. So thanks for watching. Have a great rest of your day. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.